Hey everybody, I'm Garcia, and today I'm taking a look at a two-player card game called Terra Wolf in the Valley of the Kings. It is Egypt 1922, and you are going to be gathering a party of adventurers in order to go into these long-forgotten tombs in Egypt and try to walk out with, I guess, the tomb itself, because that's how you actually win. So if you get 4 tombs before your opponent does, you win the whole thing. In the game, you are going to be managing your hand of cards as well as money. You'll be gathering these things, paying the characters you are playing out, sending them into the tombs while your opponent is doing the same thing, and then playing cards secretly, revealing those in order to surprise your opponent with new characters, undead mummies and things like that, as well as traps that might eliminate some of their characters, giving you a higher total and giving you the win. All right, so let me show you how the game works a little bit more closely. We'll come on back after that. I'll tell you if I think it's a good, engaging two-player card game. So here's everything that comes in the game. You're going to get a deck of player cards. You get these papyrus cards, which are sort of juiced up, powerful cards, similar to these. You get your characters, including Terra Wolf there. You get a set of tomb cards with a back that they did not bother to translate into English. You get some money. You get this token that represents who the star player is for each round. And you get even another little deck of cards not mentioned anywhere in the rules that even includes a couple of cards found nowhere else, a new type of card that I don't know how to play with because they're not explained. And so you're going to be using all this to attempt to control 4 of these tombs. Whoever gets 4 of these first is going to be the winner of the game. And so to do that, everybody gets a character, just the 2 players that is. The other 2 you can set aside for now. You are going to shuffle these up and give each player 3 of these papyrus cards. The rest are out. And then shuffle up the other ones and everybody gets 5. 5 for you and 5 for me. That deck will go somewhere on the table. We randomly pick a start player. Each player gets 1 of these pass tokens, and then you'll shuffle up the tombs and you are ready to begin. So the game is going to be played in successive rounds by players building up their camp in their camp phase and then going into the tomb, trying to control those. Again, whoever gets 4 of these first is the winner of the whole thing. So here's how the thing goes. Let's say that Terra Wolf over here is going to be our start player. So the first thing she'll do is decide how many resources she would like and of which kind. She gets 4 things. She can take 4 coins and no cards. She could take 3 coins and 1 card, whatever, 2 and 2. As long as the total is 4, and you decide that based on your hand of cards. So for now, I'm going to say she is going to get 3 coins, 1 card. And then she can play some cards to the table here, to her camp. So for example, she could play a, let's say she's going to play a killer. That's an ally, and that's going to have a cost up here. She pays 1 coin for that. And then it has some power. Sometimes they have a power, sometimes they do not. So this one has a power that it would be goofy right now, so I'm going to change my mind. Let's say instead I'm going to play a spy for 1 coin. It says when you play the spy, take a card at random from your opponent's hand and steal it. So I'm going to steal 1. Bloop. And then I'm going to pay 2 coins and pay for the Desert Bandit. Desert Bandit says he gets +1 power. The power's right here, by the way, in this cartouche, for each coin I possess. I just spent all my money, so he is just 3. And then that is going to be it for her. She can stop whenever she wants to, and then you check that you have at most 5 cards and at most 2 coins. That's okay. Comes back to me, the person without the starting player token. I, again, make that choice, and I'll go ahead and take 4 coins, no cards, all right? I'm going to play a Cobra for 1 coin. Very nice character here. No power, but a strength of 3 for only 1 coin. Play a Jackal for 1 coin, and these Jackals say that they get +1 power for each other of your own Jackals that are in the tomb. And I will also play a Mercenary for 1 coin. Mercenary says when you play them, your opponent discards a card of their choice from their hand. Papyruses don't count. And so this player could take a peek here and go, yeah, I'll get rid of that. All right. Now that I'm done as well, then this part is over. This is the tomb phase, and the camp phase, and we go on to the second part in which we are going to try to go into the tomb. So we first open a tomb. Flip one face up. It might have some sort of special ability. In fact, they all do. Though sometimes it simply gives you allies have +1 power, animals have +1 power. Sometimes they'll say things like you can only send 2 characters, you can only send 3 characters. Undeads have +1 power. They're very similar. There's only like 2 different kinds, and they just sort of change the words that they use. And starting from the player again that has the token, they are going to decide how many folks they send in. You can send in yourself, called your adventurer, and you can send in whatever else you want. So Tara Long here is going to hold back her bandit for later, and she's going to send in the spy and Tara Wolf herself. And then I, since animals have +1 power for me, well, I'll go ahead and send myself in, and I'll send my cobra and my jackal. I'll keep my ally back. Then back to this character over here. Now you can play traps, you can play undead, you can play things like that. Now these cards go face down. You can even bluff with one, it says, to, I guess, scare your opponent. I don't know, though. If you are bluffing and it is not one of those kinds of cards, you do lose it, so use that sparingly. And then also these papyrus cards, again, when they would apply, you could play them as well. Usually they're traps, they're undeads, things like that. So you could play them face down now as well, but I'm not going to bother with that. So Tara Long played one, and we've got this character here is going to not play any, seeing as to how I cannot. And then we reveal these cards. Any traps would now go off. Again, starting always with this character. They played no traps. I played no traps. We move on to comparing our strengths. That character there has 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total. I have 2, 3, 4, 5, because animals have +1, and 4 over here, because again, animals have +1. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 2, there's 6. I win this. I get this tomb. I put it aside somewhere. And any character that went into the tomb, except for your own adventure, of course, is discarded. So these are out. And anyone you have at the camp stays at the camp. That's okay. And now we move this token to the other player, who is going to start, again, from the camp phase, in which I get a total of 4 between these 2 things. I play some things. My opponent will do the same thing, get some stuff, play some things. We open up a new tomb. We can deploy into the tomb. They'll deploy into the tomb. I'll play some cards face down from my hand, only undead and traps, that sort of thing. Reveal that. Traps go off. We compare totals, see who wins this. And we do that until, again, someone has 4 of these things. The pass token over here lets you, once in the game, before you would open up a tomb and go in there, you can discard this. If you feel that you are not about to have a good turn in that tomb, you don't have a good representation of power, you can discard this to pass opening a tomb, but you retain the star player token. You keep that advantage, and you would basically start a new round, okay? So that allows you once to sort of gather power over 2 turns, keeping the lead in order to, put up a better show at the following tomb. So that's basically how the game works. The cards in here are going to have powers that, let me go ahead and show you a few here. So the actress, when you play her, if she's in a tomb, she has to be targeted by a spear or a pit or a rolling boulder first. The thief here, when you play this thief, you take a coin from your opponent. When you play a priest in the tomb, that character means that all the undead have -1 power. Mercenary, I already talked about. The killer, when you play a killer, you destroy an opposing ally of power 2 or less. You have a zombie with strength 2. You have a monkey. A monkey has a power of 1, but when it leaves the tomb, you actually get it back. It's not discarded. You have a smuggler. During the camp phase, once per turn, you may pay 1 coin to draw a card, or you can discard a card to take a coin. You have a reporter. When you play the reporter, your opponent reveals the cards in their hand except for 1. What else? Foreman. During your camp phase, once per turn, if your opponent has more tomb cards than you do, then you draw a card. And so on and so on. There's a few different ones in here, but once you've played 2 or 3 times, you will have seen them all. And then there's some fun powers in here. Certainly more variety there than when it comes to the stuff you play afterwards blindly. You know, not blindly, but hidden. Because that's pretty much just traps that kill someone power 2 or less. There's some, the pit has same effect, but it kills things power 3 or less. And then the undead, and those are undeads and mummies. They're strength 2 or they're strength 3. That's pretty much, that's most of what you get in there, okay? So there you go. That should give you an idea of how this whole thing operates, the different moving parts. One thing I forgot to mention is each character does have a special power. And normally they work when you are the one who has this token here. So for example, this character I have says that if I am in the tomb and I have the medallion, then my undead are not affected by traps. Tara Long says, if you are in the tomb when you have the medallion, you cancel the effect of one of your opponent's spears or pits when it triggers, once per tomb. There you go. So that's basically it. You've got, as I said, a couple of other characters with a couple of other little powers there. And that is pretty much everything that's going on. Let's go back up top. Let me tell you how this feels, how it plays, and what I think about it. All right, so there it is. That is Terra Wolf. Let's talk about it. I'm going to use my target audience system here. Kick it off with thematic ties. I've always enjoyed the sort of Indiana Jones, Lara Croft theme. You know, I like that vibe. And I think this game does that well. This idea of, gathering your party, having this eclectic cast of characters or animals and stuff, sending them into the tomb, throwing traps and stuff in your opponent's way, having the undead working for you. It's a neat theme, and it's well used in this game. The aesthetics are, for the most part, pretty nice. Card quality is good. Not superb, but it is good. I do wish that they had given you a reference sheet. Now, the inside of the box does actually have some examples. Like it tells you over here, for example, the overview of the different tombs. Tells you there. And it tells you on the other magnetic clasp side here. Bye, rulebook. There you go. It tells you over here on this side also turn structure, which is actually a little weirder than you would think at first. It takes a little getting used to at first. But, there you go. So I'm glad that that's included in there. I still wish they would have given each player a reference sheet that you could actually just have in front of you. The look of the game is nice. The artwork is congruent, looks good, fits the vibe of what's going on. So overall, yeah, the only thing I have an issue with here is, again, besides having a player aid, that it feels rushed. The translation feels a little bit rushed. The backs of the cards are still in French, the tomb cards. The whole thing feels like they wanted this out a little faster than perhaps they should have. It seems like they should have taken a little longer and taken their time with it, translated everything well, that sort of thing. That happens sometimes with these games, but it's still a little problematic. Not a huge deal, but a little sort of iffy. Replayability, I think, is so-so. I think the tombs are not varied particularly. The characters are certainly not varied. There's only 4 different ones. Their powers are pretty samey. The deck of player cards is it's about the most replayable thing. There are a few characters in there that are different, but some of their powers are kind of lame. Like there's one character that if you keep them back at camp, before you decide to take how many cards you're going to take, how much money you're going to take, you get to peek at the top card and then put it back. That doesn't seem useful to me, seeing as to how you have to put the card back on top. It says you may look at a card and then replace it. I wonder if that's a translation issue, where you may look at the top card and then either put it back on the top or the bottom. That makes that character more useful. But that's not what the card says. So it's pretty useless. There's those little kinds of things, you know. The replayability, just to me, it seems like it gets stale kind of quickly. I think this is the kind of game that even if you get into it after, say, 5 or 6 plays, I don't see folks continuing to come back to it. It needs more pizzazz, it needs more variety and variability from play to play, and you're largely going to be doing the same sorts of things. Game length is fine. Game feels like it takes about 40 minutes. It's not long, it's not short, but you have enough time to develop fun parties. You know, you'll draft a fun amount of characters, send them in, those go away, but maybe you held some back. You played a jackal earlier, but you held it back. Now you drew another one. Great, they work well together. I'll send my 2 doggies in now. Things like that. So game length feels okay. The ease of play is not bad. It takes a little getting used to, again. And I think the rhythm, sort of like the cadence of the rounds, is a little strange. I play my stuff, then you play yours. Tomb, send my people, send your people, face down, reveal, traps. Then switch all of that. We're all doing it again, but you go first every step. It took a little explaining. But again, you're going to get over that, I think, pretty quickly. So overall, ease of play is fine, except for slightly iffy translations, things like that. And then lastly, tactics and strategy, luck, stuff like that. The game feels pretty lucky. It's very lucky, very swingy. It sort of has a one-upmanship sort of vibe to it. It even includes, like I said, bluffing rules for playing stuff face down, and I guess to scare off the opponent into coming into this tomb. You could do that. I did not find it particularly useful to do that, seeing as to how you're getting rid of a card that is literally worthless by doing so, hoping to scare your opponent when card draw is not that it's not that easy. For every card you draw, you are giving up a coin. So I'm not inclined to throw cards away in that manner, in that fashion, but you could do that. The passing thing also does not seem particularly tactically rich, though again, you could do that. Overall, the game has a fun vibe. It feels like a fun kind of romp, but tactically speaking, it's a fairly shallow game tactically. There is a lot of luck. And that's okay if you enjoy that. That's what you're going for. If you enjoy this idea of, I'm going to throw these people in a tomb and see what happens, That's okay. That's okay. And this game will give you that. You just have to put a lot of stock into the theme. And the tombs, I wish, were more varied in order to then really, double down in this idea of you never know what's going to happen, because now the tombs are kind of lame. It's +1 to animals, +1 to undead, +1 to allies, and then there's a set that says you can only send 2 people in, you can only send 3 people in, you can only send 4 people in. Come on, there's not that many tombs. They could have been more interesting. So overall, the game feels like it probably was a much more finalized game in French when it first came out. I think the English translation feels, the English package here feels a little bit rushed. Not tremendously, okay? I'm not saying it's unplayable. I'm not saying the rules are bad. I'm saying it feels rushed. Backs of cards not translated. A small deck of what seems to be bonus cards not explained or mentioned anywhere, including a card type that I don't know how to use. There's only 2 cards, but again, tell me what they are. Why are they in the box? And my main issue being replayability, I think, is a little shallow, a little low. So overall, I like the game. I think if you're someone who loves this theme, if you're on a Lara Croft kick, yeah, try it, give it a shot. Just don't expect a superbly deep game, and don't expect perhaps to play it a whole lot. I think you will grow weary of it fairly soon. So there you go. That's it for me and this one, TerraWolf in Valley of the Kings. I would recommend it if you enjoy the theme. Just maybe don't spend too much money for it, because I don't think it's going to be a staple necessarily in people's collection out there. But I like it, and I would not say pass on it. I would say if it's singing to you, then give it a shot. All right? Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you folks next time.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.